I'll say to somebody, what I want you to do is I want you to not picture a cow. So no matter what I say, do not picture a cow. Don't picture the tail wagging, or don't picture the black and white spots. And my guess is you and all of us at this point have pictured a cow.
Yeah.
And it's just evidence of the more we tell ourselves what not to think about at night, the more we think about it.
Welcome to the Lifestyle First podcast, discussing lifestyle medicine and making self-care as easy as 1, 2, 3. And now your host, lifestyle medicine physician and coach, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, and welcome to Series 10, Episode 5 of the Lifestyle First podcast. So what's the thing we're exploring today? We're on S for sleep. And one question that we're discussing is, how can I stop my racing thoughts from preventing me sleeping? So to help answer that, I have with me Dr. Kimberly Lemke. Dr. Lemke is a psychologist. She's trained in CBTI, which I'm sure we'll be hearing more about. And she's a certified sleep science coach. And she's got a wonderful course which she's created called the online sleep course Drift. Now, a little bit more about Kimberly. She's been widely featured on TV and radio, and she's actually the winner of a very prestigious Enterprising Women of the Year award. So we're in good company today. I'm delighted to have you here, Kimberly.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
You're very, very welcome. So where should we start? Well, let's maybe start with some of the statistics. So what we know is that sleep difficulties are so common. It's up to about 45% of adults, isn't it, that either have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. And one of the commonest reasons that I find is people who say to me, but I just can't turn off my mind. Now, I guess there's lots of thoughts that we get, particularly in the stillness of the night. Sometimes they're related to the busyness of the day or the things we think we need to do. But I find that often they're thoughts about things that you're worrying about, things that you're anxious about. So what I really wondered was, in your experience and with your background, what are those common thoughts we have that keep us awake?
Yeah, that's a great question. I find that it's so frustrating for people because typically when they're having trouble falling asleep and it's been a problem for them for a while, they have Googled everything, right? How to quiet the mind, what to do to shut off your brain at night. And there's so much out there. And so a part of what I want to do is I want to sort of, give your listeners, a way to sort of start falling asleep and getting to sleep right away. So that question about the racing thoughts is huge. And so often what happens is we put our head on the pillow and we feel like we have no control. Our brain takes over and then it just starts feeding us stuff. And sometimes it's worries, to your point, absolutely. And it's the things that we're worried about for tomorrow or from something for today. And sometimes it's just a to-do list. Yeah. I can't forget to do this tomorrow. I can't forget to do this tomorrow. And so often, I always talk to people about a nighttime routine. Because inevitably what happens is that as adults, we sort of shut off our computer, our phone, and then we put our head on the pillow and our mind keeps going. And we're like, why can't we sleep? And it's because it's been active until the moment our head hits the pillow. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people, step one is almost look at that nighttime routine and start shutting your mind down ahead of time. I use the example of, I have 11-year-old twins. And so, if I were to ever just, have them be all riled up as a baby and put them in their room and just say, no, fall asleep.
Yeah.
It never happens, right? Like with kids, we're like, oh, let's take a bath and let's have some more milk and listen to some music. But for adults, we just sort of put our head on the pillow and expect it to turn off. So, I think one of the things I talk about is, in addition to that nighttime routine, is to have people really start feeling in control of what they want to be thinking about. And we don't think about it this way. So I'll say to somebody, what I want you to do is I want you to not picture a cow. So no matter what I say, do not picture a cow. Right? Don't picture the tail wagging, or don't picture the black and white spots, or don't picture its, little nose moving, or, do not picture it. And don't picture it eating grass. And And my guess is you and all of us at this point have pictured a cow.
Yeah.
Right. And so we look at it and we go, but I told you not to. Right. I said not to picture a cow. So why are you picturing a cow? And it's just evidence of the more we tell ourselves what not to think about at night, the more we think about it. So that idea of like, okay, don't think about the presentation tomorrow. Don't think about, the thing going on with your kids. Don't think about not sleeping. That's all you're going to think about. Mm-hmm. So do not picture this. Do not think about this. Never works. So one of the things I'll tell people is start getting control of your thoughts and start choosing what you want it to think about. Mm-hmm. So one concept that Waters talks about is an idea called cognitive distraction.
Okay.
Which basically means distract yourself with like what you want to be thinking about. So if I don't want to be thinking about, let's say something I have to do at work tomorrow, then what do I want to be thinking about? Mm-hmm. So for me, I love water, right? And so anything water, I love it. It'll put me right to sleep. So for me, maybe I start creating an image of, okay, I'm sitting by the water. And then what do I want to be seeing? Tell people, use your five senses. We're lucky to have 5 of them that we can pull from, right? And so start thinking about it. What do I hear? I would hear the waves crashing. I would hear maybe some seagulls, I live in Chicago, so there's not a whole lot of seagulls here, but some seagulls and things like that in the sky. And, what am I smelling? Use those senses, right? I'm smelling maybe suntan lotion because maybe it's warm out. And so I've put on this coconut suntan lotion, right? And so that's what I'm smelling, right? What am I tasting? Maybe the cold water that's in my thermos. And I'm creating this sort of image, as you can see, using all of my senses. Mm-hmm. When people lay down at night and their head takes over, if I tell you just think about what you want to, and you say, I'm going to think about water, and then you're done. Your brain's like, perfect. Like that took 1 second. And now let's think about this, and this, and this. So those 5 senses sort of slow your brain down and make it as detailed as possible. So what do you see? And then take it the next step, right? And then, I see the water, then the next step, I see the crescents of water. I see the white and the blue. Next step, right? I see them crash and I see them roll up on the sand and then pull the sand away. So, I tell people get very detail oriented, because if you're asking your brain to think about something you want it to, you have to start giving it almost like the meat to think about and not just the concept behind it.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you, first of all, for taking us back to innately as children, how we sleep and what works, and remembering and reminding us of that as adults is that, to ask ourselves to go from the busyness to the stillness just like that is not really something that we can ask ourselves to do and expect it to just happen. So I think that's really wonderful that you've got us back to just remembering that. And I love that sense of the 5 senses. They're with us all the time, aren't they? And yet we underutilize them all the time. But the other thing I find quite commonly comes up is yes, doing that. But the difficulty that arises is that we can't always control our thoughts. So what you're describing is the sort of sensory experience of our thoughts, but you'll find every now and again, bang, there it is again, there's that gray cloud, and then the skies will clear and we're back on thinking about the waves, and then bang, there's another thought that comes. So there's something about not controlling your thoughts, but actually almost choosing your response to them as well. And I think it's that sense that you do have a lot of control over that, even if you can't control, there it is again. What would you say to that in terms of choosing that response? What do you do when the thought that you didn't want to think about just appears? Because thoughts do. That's the way the human mind works. There's that beautiful analogy of the sky being the container and the weather being what passes through. And similarly, our mind is that container, and our thoughts are the things that pass through. But what would you say when people have said, yes, look, I'm trying this, but I'm still getting these thoughts coming through?
I love that question. That's an awesome question. I always say the heart beats, the mind thinks. It's what it does, right? That's what it's created to do. And so we get mad at it, right? We're like, why are you thinking? And it's like, that's what I do, right? Like that's my whole purpose. That's the whole reason I was made, was to think, right? So I tell people to not try to catastrophize it. To your point, it's a thought. Think about it as a cloud going through in the sky. And when you see it, or you don't pull it down and then just, digest it. Like, why am I thinking about this again? You just throw it back up in the sky and you say, oh yeah, what thought do I want to pull down again? Oh yeah, I was at the beach, right? Where we get stuck a lot of time is, I tell people this is a skill, and I do this all the time. And I constantly have thoughts that interject in there that are like, that was not on my beach. That is, that's not it. And that's okay, right? We don't catastrophize it. There's no right way. There's no perfect way. A lot of times we can't sleep because we're trying to do it perfectly. And it's an imperfect process, right? We wake up during the night as it is, and that's normal. And that's a part of sleep. And it's that idea of trying to do stuff perfect, right? I'm going to practice this tool that she's talking about, and I'm going to do it perfect. I'm going to control it. You're not, you're going to think of 5 things you see maybe, and then you are going to find yourself drifting into the land of, oh, I forgot tomorrow I have to go grocery shopping. And I forgot I got to get the kids vitamins, and I got to get this. And that's fine. Don't catastrophize it, right? Drift right back into just your own scenario. Drift right back into, oh, okay, how did I get there, right? The awareness part. And just pull it back and then say, okay, I hear you. I get it. That's where my mind wants to go. And I'm going to take it back over here. So people get so wrapped up in not doing it right, or my mind went over here, and so this technique doesn't work, versus, it's like, sort of lifting weights. You're just getting stronger at it, and you're just not going to do it perfect. And that's great. So just keep sort of drifting back to where you need to be when you find your mind drift.
And there's something there about perseverance as well, isn't there? Is it something to just keep doing, and eventually just becomes part of what you do? But when you speak to people who are really good at sleeping and you ask them, well, how do you do that? How do you just get into bed and go to sleep? There actually isn't a way. Most people don't know how they do it. They just head hits the pillow and they go to sleep, right? There isn't a process associated necessarily with that. And I think the thing to remember is, when you are the person having difficulty sleeping, is that you must remember you can become that person whose head hits the pillow and you fall asleep. But it takes you going through this process of slowing and stilling your racing mind to then become that automated sleeper as such. So I think that's really useful to remember. I love that sort of analogy of the weights, is just to sort of keep going with that. But what happens then with, okay, so you've managed to fall asleep, and night wakenings, as you say, are common, but again, those who sleep well will just sleep, go back to sleep. They'll self-soothe and go back to sleep. What's your advice there for someone who is finding falling asleep's okay, but it's just the waking in the middle of the night, and then I'm looking at my phone and it's 1 o'clock, and then it's 2 o'clock, and I'm tossing and turning? And what do you do then? Because by then the mind's activated again. It's gone back from its alpha waves and back into beta waves, hasn't it, into sort of being awake and alert. So what's your suggestions there?
So even my soundest of sleepers will still have nights that they're not able to sleep, or, days that, get in the way, or events, right? So I always tell people, even your soundest of sleepers have off nights of sleeping, and that's fine. The difference is they're not catastrophizing it, right? So they say, okay, this last week, I have not, slept really well, and it's okay, right? I'm going to, get back to sleep. I know I'm going to get back to sleep, and I'm going to go back to, the tools that I know have worked, right? And so there's this idea of the sound sleepers versus the unsound sleepers. It's not necessarily a magic. They just don't catastrophize it when they're not doing it, and then they can fall asleep better. I always call it like the 3 a.m. awakening. I don't know why. It's like 3 a.m. is the bewitching hour. For so many people, it's like, for some reason, 3 a.m. It's never 2 or it's never 4. And there's actually been some research on it, just, in terms of, at 3 o'clock, things are happening, whether it's digestively or whatever it is. And, people are always like, why am I up at 3? So then they're up. And then the hard part is you look over and you see it's 3. And then, to your point, the countdown starts, right? It's like, well, now I only have 4 hours to get to sleep before I have to get up. And what if I don't get back to sleep? And that's that catastrophizing, right? Now my brain, I've given it the sort of hurry up, get to sleep. And I don't know if any of you have ever, tried to help somebody sleep, to tell them like, hurry up and get to sleep. Like, it's never worked in the history of ever, right? So the more panic you put behind it, right, the more you activate your system, and the less likely you are to sleep. So during that 3 a.m. awakening, if you start panicking about not being asleep and watching that clock, it's just going to sort of increase adrenaline and things like that are going to keep you awake, right? Because you're going to increase your anxiety around it. I have people look at why they're waking up in the middle of the night, though, right? And consistently. So sometimes, honestly, people wake up in the middle of the night because they have to use the bathroom at around that time. And then they're up, and then their mind starts, racing and going. Sometimes people wake up at 3 a.m. and they don't. It's just their mind starts, and they start thinking about stuff. So what I'll have people do is I'll have people look about 2 hours before they go to sleep. And I'll have them engage in a task called constructive worry, which Manbar and Carney talk about this, which is this idea of 2 hours before bedtime, if something is waking up at 3 a.m. and it's racing through your thoughts, that is not the time to start processing it. So identify what you might be thinking about at night. The next day, 2 hours before bedtime, just come up with the 2 next steps for working through that problem. So how I think about this is if you're trying to go from, if on Waze or MapQuest to date myself, if you're trying to go from A to B, we're used to it being like this turn, 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 right? And have it all planned out. And when there's something that we can't necessarily solve, what are the next 2 streets that I need to turn on? And it's the same thing for this idea, which is if you're waking up at 3 a.m., because let's say you're worried about, you have a presentation due and you haven't done it yet, right? You haven't done it. You're not creating the presentation 2 hours before that at all, right? What you're doing is you're saying, what are my next 2 steps? And you're saying, okay, I am going to relook at the materials I already have, because maybe I already have more done than I thought I do. So I'm not writing it. I'm just going to say, I'm going to look at the materials, and then maybe I'm going to send an email out to, my boss and just say, hey, is it okay if it's a few days late? Or if I can't do that, right? Maybe I say, what I'm going to do is my next step is I'm just going to write down 5 bullet points so that if I have to write it early tomorrow, I can get up and I can just do the 5 bullet points, right? So it's not doing it, it's just next steps. And that's anything. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night, and let's say you're worried about your with COVID, a lot of times, I'll have parents say, my child went to bed and they had a sore throat at night. And now I'm worried that, like, what if they're sick in the morning? And then what do I have to do? And so they'll wake up and, be like, okay, if they're sick and they stay home, what do I have to do? And, do I have to call for work and those sort of things? And what I'll say is next 2 steps, right? Next 2 steps are 1, you're going to take out your thermometer, maybe put it on your nightstand so that when you wake up in the morning, you check the temperature. And 2 is maybe you've already sent out an email to somebody saying, hey, would you be able to come over tomorrow if, my child's sick? Or you have an email already written that you can send that says, hey, my child's sick and I can't come in. So I haven't solved it. I don't know if they're sick or if they're not sick or what I'm going to do, but I have sort of my next 2 steps. So those next 2 turns, if you will.
That's wonderful. I think that gives a lot of reassurance, doesn't it? And it almost brings back that locus of control back to yourself, that I'm in the driving seat here because I've actually mapped those next 2 turns out for myself. I think that's a really wonderful way to just also crunch it down and stop it being that bigger beast that sometimes we imagine things to. And there's something about the middle of the night, everything seems so much bigger than in the daytime as well, doesn't it? So no, thank you for that. And there is this very much this 2-way street, isn't there? Because if you're worrying and staying awake, then of course you're not allowing your brain to do what it does at night, which is process all your emotions. So the next day, those anxiety levels are even higher. And so you perpetuate this cycle. And then sometimes it's also the very thing that you then worry about becomes the worry about not going to sleep rather than the initial thing that you were worrying about. So there is a cycle there, isn't there, that somehow needs to be broken. And
to your point, if the worry is I'm worried about going to sleep, and then you take that 2 hours earlier and you say, okay, what am I going to do if I can't go to sleep tonight? And you say, well, I think what I'm going to do then is I'm going to get out, let's say, my lavender oils now, and I'm going to start, diffusing them. I'm going to start using those lotions. And that's just step one. I have no idea if I'm going to sleep well or not sleep well, but I've already looked at it, right? And maybe the second one is I'm going to try to, get off my phone or computer half an hour earlier tonight so that I can start winding down, right? I'm not solving the problem. I have no idea if I'm going to sleep well or not, but I have my next two steps. And that way, if your head hits the pillow and those thoughts come up, or you wake up at 3 a.m. and those thoughts come up, it allows your brain the ability to say, we've already thought about this. Yeah. Right. And then you go back to sleep and you go, yeah, but what if blah, 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 blah. And then I've already thought about this. And then you have about 1.2 seconds before it starts back up with blah, 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 blah. And then you say, I've already thought. It's like that broken record that, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And your job then just to keep saying and redirecting it to, we've already thought about it. And so that's the key, is not that the thought will stop, but that you now have the next steps that you can remind your brain, like, we don't need to think about it, whether it's before bed or when we wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fabulous. It's not your role to stop the thoughts. It's actually to just provide some calmness to that and some control that you have over, okay, I recognize this thought, but hey, guess what? I've dealt with you already.
And now, here is your lifestyle first prescription. Your 3 activating actions to take you from knowing to doing.
Love that. So look, you've already given us some fantastic tips, but I wonder if you can distill them for this part into just 3 key takeaway actions for people who are listening. So how to really change that racing mind into that much more still mind.
So I think one is the catastrophizing. Don't catastrophize. We're made to sleep. Our brains know how to sleep. We know how to sleep. If we're having trouble sleeping, don't catastrophize it. Acknowledge it as, I had a poor night's sleep. I've had a poor week's sleep, and to find stillness and calm with not sleeping versus the catastrophizing it. So for me, step one would be not to catastrophizing it. Know that you will sleep and you will get back to sleep, and sort of leave the panic out of it. The second thing I would say is to remember you have a lot more control than you think, but it might be messy, and that's okay too, right? So you have control over those thoughts, and you're going to try to say, okay, I'm going to use those 5 senses, and I'm going to try to do this, and it's going to be messy because you're going to, your mind's going to drift over there, and it's no problem. You just bring it back. So remind yourself that you have control, but that it might look messy, and that's okay too. We're not catastrophizing the messy at all. And the third thing would just be sort of that idea of almost pre-worrying, right? Pre-think through things, come up with 2 steps. If you have thoughts that come up frequently, I would start with those first, because you know that it's probably going to show back up. And if you don't, and you say, I don't worry in the middle of the night, it's just random thoughts, then write down what some random thoughts might be, and just get those out of the way, so that when you wake up, you sort of have the ability to say to your mind, shh, now go back to sleep. We've already thought about this. Yeah. So those would sort of be my 3 takeaways to help that racing mind piece.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that's a lot of people listening are going to find those very, very helpful. And I know this is just a top slice of everything that's in your toolkit. So I'm sure people are going to want to reach out to you, find out more about you. As we said, 45% of people are struggling. So, and I know you have a wonderful course as well that's so helpful. So tell us about that, and tell us how people can reach out to you. What's the best way to find you?
Thank you. So the course's name is Drift, and it is coming out very soon, within the next few weeks. So I'm so excited for it. It's created from a place of working with thousands of people and trying to take you from, feeling helpless and about not being able to sleep, feeling exhausted, to being able to fall asleep and stay asleep, and feel rejuvenated in your life, and like you finally have control back. So Drift will help you do it, and it's quick, and it's going to take you from here to here. You can follow me also on Instagram at Dr. Kimberly Lemke. So DrKimberly, Lemke, Lemke. And in that, you'll see I post a lot of sleep tips, just tips and tricks and those sort of things. And as you follow it, and if you look in sort of my website as well, which is drift.com, you'll also see a freebie in there. So I give a giveaway if you're interested in terms of sleep and foods and drinks that might be helpful with you being able to get better sleep. So, you send an email and then I will send you that and then keep you posted on it. And then have you also be first in line for the course when it comes out, which I am so excited about. I've seen it work thousands and thousands of times, so I cannot wait to get it out there.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. No, thank you. I will put all of those links into the showcase notes as well. So thank you again so much for sharing your insights, sharing those wonderful tips that even one or two of those are going to make a difference to so many people just tonight. So really appreciate that. And that simply now leaves me to wish everyone listening a happy, healthy day.
Thanks for joining us on the Lifestyle First podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and share. To learn more, please visit www.dralkapatel.com.